She's still not doing very well. She is in and out of the hospital, and they're still trying to figure things out. She's got a couple appointments today and tomorrow, and we'll get to the bottom of it, hopefully. The most important thing for Cindy is to get better and take the necessary time to get better. She's too concerned about me and this committee to get better. And so we do have somebody here. Del Stram is a new committee assistant who's going to be helping us out. And I would just ask you to give him a little leeway. He's new. This is his first time. So we're gonna roll with it and do the best we can. He seems like he's a great person, and welcome to the committee, sir. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is bill introductions. We have bill introductions from the committee. Vice Chair Turk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a bill introduction. It is RS number 1060 regarding home-based businesses.
All right, seeing no objection, we'll accept the bill. Any other bill introductions from the committee? Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have RS 1070. It deals with rebates to clearing a lien and before a sale of a property, and then securing bonds for those unfinished projects. Thank you.
Seeing no objection, we'll accept the bill. Representative Wassinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to introduce RS 25-1010. I'm introducing it for Leading Age of Kansas. It is, let me make sure I've got this right. It's related to enhancing the adult care home services workforce.
All right. Seeing no objection, we'll accept the bill. Any further bill introductions from the committee? All right, I have one. It is our 25 RS 1073. It has to do with an Ireland Trade Commission. Seeing no objection, we'll get the bill introduced. Seeing no further bill introductions from the committee, is there anyone that has a bill introduction? Stephen Durst.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Stephen Durst. I'm with the Federico Durst Consulting Group. I'm here today on behalf of Astra Enterprise Park and would respectfully ask for a bill introduction from this committee related to the regulation of pesticides.
All right, seeing no objection, we'll accept the bill.
Thank you.
Sir, did you mention an RS number on that?
Mr. Chairman, the RS number is 25 RS 1025.
All right, thank you very much. John Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. John Monroe here with Catalyst. I'm here on behalf of Top Gun Events and Visit OP, and I would like to request 1066, and that's a sports tourism grant bill.
All right, seeing no interjection or objection, we'll accept the bill. So y'all know we only have a week left till turnaround, so it's going to be interesting. Are there any other bill introductions? All right, seeing none. Okay, committee, next item on the agenda. We originally had Kansas State University 105 scheduled for Wednesday, but we switched it around a little bit, and so we're going to have them present today, and they're going to go before we have the bill hearings. So we'll start with K-State 105. If you recall, they were here before, and they were cut off within like 10 minutes, and I figured we'd give them some adequate time today. Jessica, would you introduce yourself? Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chairman Tarwater, members of the committee, and thank you for the opportunity to be back again today to continue the discussion of K-State 105. So I previously shared a short update, but there's much more to what we've accomplished in our first year and much more to this initiative and what it means for Kansas businesses and entrepreneurs. So today, I'll pick up that charge and I'll ensure that you have a complete understanding of K-State 105, our accomplishments in our first year, and how we're delivering meaningful, measurable impacts across Kansas. So over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through how we've built a statewide network of business-driven support and how the investment into K-State 105 is producing real returns for Kansas. K-State 105 is more than an initiative. It's Kansas State University's commitment to driving economic growth in all 105 counties. We know that businesses, whether in agriculture, manufacturing, technology, or services, thrive when they have the access and expertise, workforce support, and resources to scale. And that's exactly what K-State 105 delivers: real-world solutions to help Kansas businesses grow and compete. Kansas State University is setting a new standard for how university model for economic development drives real economic outcomes, and we call that K-State 105. So how is K-State 105 helping Kansans? A few weeks ago, my testimony right here to this committee centered on our partnership level and our project level of the initiative. And so today in this presentation, I'm going to hone in down to the business level view of the key takeaways we're delivering impact across the state. So in today's presentation, I'm going to review the statewide business expansion and job growth, how we're helping businesses both large and small to create jobs, retain talent, and expand their operations in Kansas. I'm also going to talk about connecting businesses and communities to university expertise. Many companies and communities don't know how to access specialized expertise and the resources they need to grow. K-State 105 can help bridge that gap, connect them to not only our university, but other universities' resources for cutting-edge technology, technical expertise, and workforce development programs. I'm also going to talk about delivering business impact, and I'm going to do that one story at a time. And lastly, we're going to talk about how K-State 105 is scaling fast, and we're just getting started. It hasn't been a slow build. In just 1 year, K-State 105 has launched partnerships, we've generated measurable results, and we've built a framework for even greater impact moving forward, and we're just getting started. So these are the areas K-State 105 is making a difference, and I'll be diving deeper into each of them throughout this presentation. In our first year, K-State 105 partnerships delivered measurable results in all 105 counties. The map on this slide shows where our work is happening. The businesses, the industries, and the communities across the state are seeing this direct impact. And here's what that impact looks like. In fiscal year 24, we realized 408 jobs created or retained, including 82 additional jobs, helping Kansans stay in their communities and support their families. We've seen 415 businesses established or expanded, ensuring more local business can start, scale, and thrive in Kansas. And we've also seen 546 employees trained in industries critical to the Kansas economy, preparing a skilled workforce in areas like manufacturing, technology, and healthcare. So these numbers are not just statistics. They represent real businesses, real workers, and real economic momentum across Kansas through K-State 105. One of the most compelling aspects of K-State 105 is not just the work we do, but it's the impact we create by multiplying the state's investment. In just our first year, K-State 105 partnerships generated more than a $5.5 million additional matching funds, more than doubling the $5 million investment. That means for every dollar generated and invested, the return exceeds even further, supporting businesses, entrepreneurs, and economic growth statewide. But I know what each of you want to see. It's what does that look like in your district? How is K-State impacting the businesses and communities each of you represent? So to answer that, in front of you, we have prepared a customized data sheet for each of you to look at. So if you take a look at the packet that has your name listed at the very top, these documents highlight the businesses we've worked in your district, the types of support provided, and the economic return. They also include a QR code for linking to an interactive dashboard so that you can explore the impact in real time. So the single pages that we've provided in front of you is like a 2D copy of what the digital platform looks like, so I encourage you to scan the QR code when you have time and check it out. These sheets also give you actionable insights on how K-State 105 is driving impact in your district, specific businesses, outcomes, and even ROI. But one of the greatest strengths of K-State 105 is our ability to connect businesses and communities to expertise, research, and innovation that exists at Kansas State University. So many of you know that businesses, especially small and mid-sized businesses, have challenges in accessing the right technical support, research insights, or even workforce development resources, and that can be a challenge. They might not have internal capacity to conduct this research or develop new projects. And this is where K-State 105 really bridges that gap, helping businesses solve problems, scale their operations, and remain competitive. So the best way to understand the impact of K-State 105 is to hear directly from the businesses we've helped. These aren't just abstract concepts or broad partnerships. There are real Kansas businesses that are growing, innovating, and expanding because of the expertise and assistance they've accessed through K-State 105. So I'd like to give you a few examples of how this works in action. So the first example is a company called Splashtacular. Splashtacular is a Kansas-based water slide company, and they manufacture in Paola. And they design attractions for water parks all across the country. But in order for this Kansas business to grow, they had the desire to enter into an international market, specifically Saudi Arabia. There was just one challenge. Saudi Arabian regulators required destructive testing on slide components to prove that they could be safe and durable to meet durability standards. Without it, Splashtacular could not expand their product. And this is how K-State 105 helped. Technology Development Institute and civil engineering experts conducted the specialized destructive testing required for market entry. The testing proved that their slides met international safety standards, and it helped them clear regulatory hurdles to allow their company to expand internationally. This wasn't just a win for Splashtacular. This was a win for Kansas manufacturing, proving that companies in our state can compete and succeed on a global scale. Of course, with a little help from K-State 105. We received just fantastic testimony from Alex Weideman, who is the CEO of Splashtacular, and you can check that out here on the screen and in your slides. But really, it's so much more than technical assistance. This capability that K-State 105 was able to connect doesn't exist anywhere else in the state. No other facility in Kansas could conduct this required destructive testing, making K-State 105 really the key for this international expansion. We are delivering on our mission to connect real-world expertise to real-world businesses. All right. So continuing on, the next example is Vortex Coatings. They are a small business based in Salina that specializes in high-performance industrial coatings used in a variety of industries. In order to stay competitive, they needed to improve their way coatings were applied, but they lacked in-house engineering and expertise to design and develop a solution. Their team knew that customized application would be able to help make their product easier to use and to expand their market reach, but they didn't have the technical capacity to build it on their own. So here's how K-State 105 helped. Through our strategic partnerships, we were able to provide engineering support to design, prototype, and test a custom applicator. They were able to streamline their application to improve efficiency and usability. And with K-State 105's assistance, Vortex showcased this new technology at the SEMA trade show in Las Vegas, which was a key opportunity to expand into larger markets. So this is what K-State 105 does. Connecting Kansas manufacturers with technical experience and expertise that they need to solve large industry challenges. And once again, we have another quote from Peter Browning of Vortex out of Salina, who was incredibly supportive and just very thankful to have the expertise right at his fingertips. And I'll also mention that our team went to him, traveled to Salina to do this work, so that was a great showcase of our abilities across the state. So the last two companies that I highlighted, Splashtacular and Vortex, They are established Kansas businesses already, and we were able to help them scale to the next level. But what about Kansas startups? What about companies that are just getting started and need the right support to grow? And that's where the K-State 105 partnership and startup support really shines. There's no better example of this than our partnership with Go Topeka and the Plug and Play Tech Accelerator. Nested within the animal health corridor, Go Topeka is the national hub for digital ag tech and animal health with Plug and Play. To stay competitive, we need to do more than just attract the large companies. We need to support the next generation of innovators who will grow Kansas leadership in so many different industries such as these. But startups also face significant barriers: accessing funding, research capabilities, technical expertise, and market connections. Without structured support, too many high-potential startups struggle to survive, and those who do not succeed sometimes leave the area. That's why K-State 105 has partnered with Go Topeka and the Plug and Play Tech Accelerator to ensure that more Kansas startups have the support they need to succeed. So let's talk a little bit about an example that's happening right here in Topeka. We have Arch Pet Food as a Topeka-based supported startup with a vision to create hypoallergenic dog food for pets with dietary sensitivities. And I know from personal experience, pet food is a pretty big deal. The potential market for this product is huge, but like many startups, Arch Pet Food faced significant challenges in being able to take their ingredients and take it out to market. So in order to launch their product, they needed technical expertise to validate their formula to make sure that it was safe, and they needed early stage production support, and they needed connections to deeper industry resources. And that's where K-State 105 and our partnership with Go Topeka and Plug and Play comes into the picture. So this is how K-State 105 helped. We helped to provide technical assistance, and we did that on campus with our Bioprocessing and Industrial Value-Added Products Innovation Center. We also helped them out with early stage testing. Feeding trials were conducted to ensure that the product met industry standards. And then strategically, we helped them expand out with deeper industry connections. So this story alone is more than just a product. It's about what's possible when a startup has the right tools for them to succeed. So we do that through our partnerships, Go Topeka, Plug and Play, and others on campus. We're not just helping them launch, we're helping businesses stay here in Kansas. So last time I was here, I talked about the digital platform called All Things Kansas. This is a K-State 105 project that we launched last year to help business owners and community leaders across Kansas. And when I was here last, we talked a little bit about how it's being used. So it's a digital platform. You can scan the code. You can go to our website. You can access over 30,000 bits of information. But real-world examples would be that a rural economic community developer can analyze workforce data to help attract new industries to their area. We've seen local entrepreneurs use it to identify market gaps, to better position their product. And we've seen local community planners using infrastructure data to help write grants. And I just met a woman last week who told me that she used the All Things Kansas platform to write a grant in the Wamego area, and she scored very, very high on that grant application. So my team is here today, and we do have some iPads, so if anybody would like a personalized tour of All Things Kansas, if you have any questions, please let us know, and we would be more than happy to demo that platform for you. A couple more things. If you take a look at some of the work that we did in our first year, I talked last time I was here about the Entrepreneurship Blueprint Initiative. And so that initiative had a line item of $800,000. And so just a little bit more information about this. This is one of the most exciting projects I think we have with K-State 105. This is a partnership between K-State 105, Network Kansas, and Research and Extension, and it's aimed at driving entrepreneurship and small business growth across Kansas. And so specifically, that $800,000 was deployed to 11 different locations across the state. So in that line item, that's actually divided by 11. The typical project is around $125,000, and they all required at least a 25% match. And so really, we're talking about this total amount. It's thinking about partnerships and being able to support businesses at the local level. So by working with Network Kansas and leveraging our trusted relationships with Research and Extension, we're able to strategically deploy this across the state. And then also, I had a little bit of information about delivering extension, and I absolutely love this story. This is something that is so exciting. So some funding goes through extension, and it's really about leveraging the most efficient and effective deployment system the state of Kansas has. So KSRE is deeply embedded in every Kansas community with trusted relationships and local knowledge all across the state. And they have the infrastructure. We have the infrastructure that makes it ideal to partner and ensure that investments reach people and the businesses who need them the most. And so to further demonstrate this, I put an example up on the slide. And a project came to us from the Twin Creeks Extension District, and that's in far northwest Kansas in the Hoxie area. And we had local producers working with research and extension that said, we want to grow crops and we want to be able to expand our market and be able to sell our crops directly into a different market. So a project was formed called the Food, Agriculture, and Healthcare Integration into Northwest Kansas. And this was the integration of food systems and healthcare pathways. This holds an immense potential for improving both the health and the vitality of Northwest Kansas. And so from support with K-State 105, the Twin Creeks Extension District hosted a series of discussions around food systems. They brought together several dozen stakeholders across the state. And the goal was really about creating new agricultural markets for farmers in the region by exploring innovative pathways for them to be able to sell into healthcare systems. And this is really cool. I love this idea. The discussions were strengthened by a partnership with stakeholders, including the Sheridan County Hospital in Hoxie. And I'm really excited to share this is where the impact comes out. As a result of this K-State 105 project, this group, after meeting, went out and secured a $477,000 grant from the USDA GUS NIP program. And what they're going to be able to do is expand their efforts, deepen food integration from local producers into medical food systems. And really, this is going to address a lot of issues in those areas, including chronic disease. So the takeaway is simple. The project exemplifies the power of K-State 105's deployment method, which is research and extension. So we're leveraging those existing strengths, those existing trusted advisor positions to create networks of scale. Small targeted investments like these don't just add immediate needs, they create a ripple effect over time. So as I begin to wrap up this presentation, I would like to comment on the pace and the high level of efficiency in which we operated in. K-State 105 was an initiative that didn't just launch and wait, we executed. From formalizing our agreements in September of 24, to major project expansion by March, we scaled fast, and our momentum keeps building. Our momentum is not slowing down, and most of our projects were designed to scale in 2025 and beyond. Scaling fast, building momentum, and delivering results. That's what K-State 105 is all about. And with continued support, we're very excited to see what these partnerships can do together. Chairman Tarwater, members of the committee, what I've shared today is the beginning of what K-State 105 has accomplished in our first year. From creating jobs to supporting businesses, to launching innovative tools like All Things Kansas, building partnerships helps us multiply this investment. But this isn't just about numbers, it's about people. It's about helping that small business in Paola. It's about working with a Topeka startup to build the value of why they should be here. It's about connecting Kansas to the resource, expertise, and opportunities needed to thrive. So as we look ahead, here's how K-State 105 plans to continue to build on this momentum. We want to enhance the All Things Kansas digital platform. It's been a game changer for Kansas. Nothing like this exists anywhere in the state. We're adding more real-time data and making it even more valuable. We've even like to add a statewide resource hub for economic development, and a project is currently in the works with Network Kansas. We're looking forward to launching new initiatives, doubling down on industries that matter to Kansas, like animal health, ag tech, advanced manufacturing, and even rural healthcare. Meeting businesses where they're at and expanding our reach. We're focusing on underserved regions of Kansas to make sure that all Kansas counties benefit from the resource and expertise that K-State 105 can provide. So this is what's ahead for K-State 105, more businesses served, more communities thriving, and more Kansans equipped for the future. With that foundation built in year one, the next phase will be about scaling that success to ensure lasting statewide prosperity. I'm very proud of this team and what we've achieved in our first year, but I'm even more excited about what's ahead. K-State 105 will continue to drive economic growth, innovation, and opportunity, ensuring that every Kansan has the opportunity to succeed. Thank you so much for this opportunity with you, and now I'd like to hand it to Dr. Stewart for closing remarks.
Welcome back to committee, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to be with you again. Thank you for the opportunity. And one of the things I wanted to close out with, first of all, I want to thank Jessica for the great job she's done. I had the opportunity to hire her in 2023 after we got the dollars, and we were, as she has said, on a fast pace. But one of the things that I also want to remind everyone of is this was really the creation of K-State 105 really came out of the Kansas Board of Regents strategic plan, because one of their pillars deals with economic prosperity. And each institution was asked to respond to that. What's going to be our response? That's where K-State 105 began to percolate. I believe it was in 2022 before I arrived that it started being socialized and talked about. And then obviously in 2023, we were fortunate to get those dollars. Some things I want you to think about as I close this out is that I think universities today are in a very different place than we were probably when we started. Although I would say that in the case of Kansas State University, we've always been in the economic development business. We've always been in the workforce development business, maybe in a different way than people think about. If you go back to 1863, when we started, 4 years later, 1867, a group of students came out of Kansas State, just like they did out of other universities when they started, and they had degrees. And those degrees created economic prosperity for those individuals. They allowed them to do better in their lives. And so that's economic development, that's workforce development. And it's something that today when we think about it, we think about the student who comes on campus and those degrees, but we also think about these outreach kind of programs where we go into community. We are looking at how we leverage Kansas State Extension. When you think about KSRE, as it's called here, we are really thinking about how we retool that and rethink about that to really make it an engine of prosperity and opportunity for Kansans. We've done great things in that system, for instance, in the past, in agriculture, 4-H, and many things that we all love. But we think we can do more because it's not just about the content do you deliver, it's also about the connections you make. And as you listen to Jessica, a lot of what we're doing is connecting the dots and beginning to do it in a thoughtful way, whether it be on our campus, the other K-Board campuses, other partners outside the university, whoever it may be. The bottom line here is we want to make sure Kansans have in their hands the things they need. And one of the things we've been talking about in recent days is as we continue to evolve, remember this is year one that we just talked about, we're in year two now, is trying to figure out how do we have that one-stop shop where a person can come in and literally, if they want to start a business, see firsthand, this is what I need to do, this is who I need to talk to, and have technical assistance real time for them right on the spot, whether it be at the community level or if they reach out to the university. So I think there's a lot more things we can do. I think one of the things we will also do that maybe Jessica did not touch on is as you do this kind of work, and I know this from my own personal experience doing this type of work in 2 other states, is that when you get into a situation, you're going to oftentimes find things you didn't know. We didn't know that that expertise was needed. We didn't understand that was a need in the community. That happens every day in this work. And so what you then do is you mine yourself. You go into your own organization and sister organization, see what have you got or what have we got. And if we don't have it, we say, well, that's a competency we got to develop as an institution. So it affects how we teach, it affects how we do research, and ultimately how we deliver on the promise of Kansas State University in behalf of all Kansans. So we are excited about it. We do believe it's the part of the next generation land grant idea that you hear our president talk about so much, President Linton, and certainly we do want to be a partner with you. We thank you for the support we've had in the past, and look forward to hopefully many more years of doing this great work in partnership with you and others across the state of Kansas. So with that, Mr. Chairman, we'll take questions you may have, if there's any questions from the group.
All right, well, Doctor, thanks for coming in, and Jessica, thanks for taking the time to come all the way back here. I wanted to make sure that the committee was aware of all the things that you did. Network Kansas was here with you last time, and that's just one thing you do, and we didn't quite get to all the things that you did. And that might have caused some problems throughout the State House. And coupled with the fact that you guys kind of were launching at the same time, we were looking at an entrepreneurship bill in here. And most of the people in the State House tied you to that your sole purpose was to seek out and find and start new businesses. But it's a lot more than that. And so thanks for taking the time to explain that, and I'm sure there'll be some questions. But I want to start with, thank you for knocking off Iowa State on Saturday, number three ranked basketball team in the nation.
I wish K-State 105 could take credit for that, and if you want us to take, Mr. Chairman, we will, but we did that. We're glad of that, too.
So, all right, committee questions. Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, I am a QR code, like I see when I gotta see what it is, right? Like curiosity killed the cat when it comes to QR codes with me. So I instantly saw your QR code. I went down the rabbit hole, and I'm fishing through all that K-State 105 has to offer online. I've got a whole host of questions, just to, what is this, what is that? But I have one that's popping out in my head, and it's micro-credentials. Can you talk to me a little bit about micro-credentials and how that might be able to help our constituents?
Yeah, actually, and do you have the ability to, I wonder is there anything else, because we have a couple different projects with micro-credentials that are attached to it. I believe there's a construction science one with micro-credentials. There's also etymology.
This particular link in your website I think it's trying to figure out what the person pursuing it would benefit from. So it's got a question like, what are your interests? What are your, whatever.
Sure.
This might have to do with maybe potential school opportunities, but I'm trying to figure out how it fits in the business
One
side
of the things that's happening in the higher education landscape is, and if you've heard our president, Rich Linton, talk about it, he talks about learners. And no longer is it just students, maybe we think about traditionally, but all learners. And we've been doing this for really over 100 years. Extension's a good example. People have learned all kind of competencies that helped them on the farm, the ranch. We've been in a non-formal education. Micro-credentials really narrows that in. And what it is, it's where you take a couple of courses or a few courses and you nest them together so that person gets just the core of what they need. So it could be someone who's never been to college. Maybe they got a high school diploma. They just want to take those few things to have a credential. Sometimes you'll find them in the IT industry. You'll find them in construction. You'll find them in different areas. So that's a space. Sometimes micro-credentials, interestingly enough, Mr. Vice Chair, sometimes those will then go into what's called a credential. Now, that's a little more language, and then it drives into a certificate. And sometimes you see people actually roll them into a degree. They decide they want to pursue that. So it's another way to take the knowledge, the creative work of the institution and put it in the hands of the people and let them decide. And I think you're going to see this in all institutions. This is not unique to us. Obviously, we're driving this because we see it as part of economic development, workforce development. Sometimes you'll see us partner. We just signed a collaborative agreement, for instance, in Garden City, Kansas, which many of you may have seen, to do some credentials and that kind of thing there. In some cases, a community college will be delivering some of that. Sometimes we will, where we've got the expertise. So, but it's working that together. And so that's what you're seeing there as you go through that. And one thing you'll find in that All Things Kansas site is you're going to see layers and 30,000 some layers of data. One thing that's unique about that is it changes literally minute by minute. So layers of data are changing based on conditions in the state. Which is kind of a fascinating tool too. So again, going back to micro-credentials, it's a way to deliver content specific to what they need. I mean, you might have an industry, you might have a small business that says, hey, I want my employees to just have this. We figure out a way to deliver that then just for that particular group of employees or that particular skill set that they may need. That's where that's headed. And we think it's got a great growth opportunity, and it can help people really feel an affinity for higher education in a different way.
So If I might, I actually can give you a personal example of how micro-credentials help the small business owner. I am somebody who graduated from K-State over 20 years ago. I'm not going to say the exact year, but when I went to K-State, we did not live in this digital world like we did today. So when COVID hit and I was operating my own independent consulting company, I went back to K-State and I attended a boot camp for digital media training, and I was immediately, after the first year of being a part of this micro-credential program, I was able to increase the amount of money that my business made significantly. So that could be a really good example of why a person who might have been in the workforce for a while, I used a micro-credential to upskill my own skills to be able to, create more revenue for my business.
You're like reading my mind now, okay?
Yeah.
You've gone down the rabbit hole with me. So I've seen micro-credentialing, and I can't tell you how many times I've wished during my journey in private business ownership that I wish I had a very specific skill set. But then I look back on my time at the University of Kansas, and I thought, man, I really don't have time for a 9-week course in XYZ. I really only have maybe a day or two to commit to learning this. Thinking maybe a workshop or something of that nature. How can you bring micro credentials to the people, to the ground, to where the rubber meets the road?
I'll start with the front half and I'll see if Dr. Stewart has anything else to add. But really, when we think about creating micro-credentials, it's about having evidence-based material to be able to deploy through. So that's where I think the expertise of our academic system has the ability to make sure that the things that do get deployed throughout the system have that evidence backing. And then from there, there's a very specific process that I think the university would go through to actually create these credentials and make them align with the university as a whole.
A lot of them will be delivered online if we're possible, but there's some things you can't do that way. So what we're going to have to do, when we think about this long term, is obviously Kansas State University is located in Manhattan, and we have 2 campuses that align with it, Olathe and Salina. But we also have 105 extension offices all over the state. Now, one of the things that we're talking about reinventing that system is to enable us to deliver where there needs to be some more face-to-face or some of that one-on-one kind of coaching. You empower that system. You reinvent what that is. So when she talks about K-State 105 and that partnership and working through this 105 county system, that's one of the things you're going to see long-term. You're also going to see it in our research centers. We've got several research centers that have, ag research centers that have tremendous laboratory space, classroom space. There's no reason not to energize that. And then there's other spaces at community centers and other things that we can certainly tap into as well. But we have the infrastructure. When you rethink it and reimagine it, we can deliver that stuff just in time. Now, one of the other questions you'll get to is, well, how do we know about it? Well, that's where we've got to rethink how we market and how we promote things. Another piece of this, if you look at large corporate America, those are easier chunks to go after. Say if you go after a large company and they have a particular group of people, they want to have a certain kind of training. And we're doing some of this at our Olathe campus right now, where you've got some major corporations, and what they want to do is buy so many seats for so many of their employees to go through certain kind of training. If you're in a small business, though, you may not have that capacity. So what we've got to do is, through our extension network, identify small businesses in communities, make sure they have information constantly saying, here's some things you might want to think about for your employees. Maybe you're a company of 10 or 8. There may be two people you want to go through something. We got to make that affordable. We got to make sure it's in line. So that's sort of like the next generation of this land grant idea that our president talks about. And we really think it's going to be bringing the university in a modern way right in the sort of the kitchen table, if you will, of the people of Kansas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm looking through here and I see one. It's College of Business Administration, using your financial data to transform your small business. Where were you pre-COVID? I'm trying to, everything I see, I try to find value in it. Yes. For the ground, right, for our constituents. This is great. I think this is where K-State 105 brings value. I hope you continue to press this. You're right on the accelerator, and I hope you branch out of Olathe and into my district very soon. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that. In fact, you read my mind because I was thinking about Representative, if you came to me and you emailed K-State 105 and you said, Jessica, I have a business and I am lacking this skill set because maybe technology has advanced and I just don't have it. And we went down the route of micro-credentials, and that's not right for you. You're not gonna, take 9 months or 9 weeks or whatever the case might be. The project you just mentioned with the College of Business Administration is actually with our Wildcat Consulting Group, and every single semester we onboard the brightest students, whether grad students or undergrads, to actually be available to help businesses. So you might have a challenge, and we might be able to connect you with Wildcat Consulting to overcome that challenge quickly. So that's another option, and I'm glad that showed up on your QR code.
All right, so that begs the question on all these tools that you have, as he just stated, he really wish he would have known about it. How are we going to get the word out that you're doing this and that you can help small businesses take the next step?
Yep, and I think that's a great question, because if people don't know about it, they don't know to access it. So that's really where you are. Again, 1 year of work so far, so we're ramping this up. One of the things you're going to begin to see, though, is I'm going to go back to the one thing we do have in place in 105 counties. We've got an extension network. You've also got 2 other campuses. So we're going to have to retool that system, so that system is literally becoming a human marketing machine to market this in communities. Historically, that system, if you think about all those 105 counties, they were only promoting those disciplines that they knew about. Part of their job going forward over the next couple of years is going to be to market all these other opportunities, credentials, technical expertise, things that we're doing through K-State 105. So that's a re-energization, if you will, reimagination of that whole system. And we can always use digital tools like we have on our phones. We're always going to do that. But there is nothing like somebody saying, I've done this, and now you ought to do it too. So we're going to rely not only on the technology side, but on the sort of the credibility you get when somebody says, I've done this and it really works. So we're going to be rethinking that whole system. We actually say we're doing it right now, and beginning to deploy things in that system so people know, if I need something from K-State, I can go there and they can point me to where it is, be it a credential, be it technical assistance, working with K-State 105 or whatever. It's a reimagination of that system without taking anything away from it. You're just lifting it up to a higher level. And I can say with full transparency and honesty, Mr. Chairman, I spent a whole lifetime of work doing that kind of work, and I've done it other places, and we can certainly do it differently and better here in Kansas because of the robustness of your system here. So I look forward to that.
All right, committee, any further questions? Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, quick question. Does K-State 105 work in partnership with K-State Innovation Partners, or is that different initiatives?
Thank you. K-State Innovation Partners was around for a long time. It's basically, for those who may not know, it was the group that historically did corporate relations. It also did tech transfer. Now, when I say tech transfer, basically taking research and bringing it into the communities. That's the transfer piece, technology transferring into community, commercialization. They did that kind of work and have done extraordinary work. Over the last year and a half, we rethought that whole process, because what we found was people, to the chairman's question earlier, be it a corporation or whatever, didn't know where to go on our campus to get the help. So we actually opened this facility actually in January. We have a new front door, if you will, and we have now the K-State Research Foundation, which does commercialization, tech transfer. We also have Corporate Relations Office, and between my office and the Office of Research, we now have a new way of doing that. So Innovation Partners as a name has sunsetted, and it's called the K-State Research Foundation and Corporate Relations for Kansas State. So we have, in that process, centralized it so faculty internally know where to go if they've got something they want to take out to the marketplace. Externally, people can begin to come into one place, and we're beginning to market that. Again, we did the ribbon cutting a few weeks ago. I think it's going to transform the openness, and we actually use the term open for business, so it's not as confusing. What we're trying to do is make it less confusing for the external person to do business with us, and make it clear for our internal, our faculty in particular, easy for them to go out. You got to get both sides working, and it's, I will tell you, I gave pretty much a year of my life working on that project, parts of my year, and it was not easy, but I think we're there now, and we've just got to move forward. And we've already got, I can't reveal any companies and organizations, but we've had a number of companies, and even the last 30 days, reach out. Number one, say thank you for what you're doing, the way you're doing it. And then secondly, we want to do business with Kansas State, and more importantly, in the state of Kansas. We're interested in coming, building onto your technology, partnering with you, and thereby come to Kansas to do business. And I can tell you that we're happy about it, but so is the Department of Commerce and others when we're able to call them and say, hey, we may have something here to think about differently. And I think it's good. I think all that's good for Kansas. So KSUIP, as you've thought about in the past, will not be. This is just Kansas State University, and I think it makes it really clean for people to go into. We have a tendency in higher education, Representative, if you hadn't noticed, to use a lot of acronyms, a lot of language, and sometimes that gets really confusing. But as I tell people when they ask me what I do, I say I work for Kansas State University, period. Now, if you want to know what I do, that's different, but that's who I work for, trying to clarify that language and be clear in our marketing communications so people, regardless of whether you're the student on campus or the people, the farmer or the rancher or the small business owner, whoever you may be, that you're working with Kansas State, period. And that means the mothership. You know, we're not broken out, but just one K-State.
Any further questions? All right, seeing none. Thanks so much again for coming back. We'll see you next week. All right, moving on. Representative Penn. So in this committee, you know, in most committees when your phone makes noise and goes off, you got to bring snacks. But in this committee, you have to take us all over to Celtic Fox and buy us around. So we'll see you after committee. All right.
Whatever.
All right, so next up, we've got a couple of bill hearings to attempt.
I like your optimism, Mr. Chair.
Well, they should be, never mind, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say that they should. We'll start with HB 2117. We'll open the hearing and get a brief description on what the bill does, and you're welcome to stay there if you want, sir. Representative, or Revisor Reimer.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill number 2117 is brought to you by the Office of the Secretary of State. This is a bill that concerns business entities, primarily filing business entity documents with the Secretary of State, but there are also some other items that are addressed in the bill. First of all, Section 1 addresses some filing requirements for business trusts when they are surrendering their authorities to do business in Kansas. Under current law, they are required to file a certified copy of a resolution duly adopted by the business trust trustee declaring its intention to withdraw, that is, to cease to do business. And the bill changes that to require the filing with the Secretary of State of a certificate of dissolution or withdrawal executed by an authorized person. In addition, the fee required for that filing is changed under current law. It's just a straight $20. The bill changes that to the fee required by just references another statute, actually, 177506. Section 2 also deals with a filing matter. This pertains to foreign corporations who want to do a merger or a consolidation with another foreign corporation. Under current law, they must file a certificate of the proper officer of the jurisdiction under the laws of which the merger or consolidation was effected, attesting to such merger or consolidation, or a form prescribed by the Secretary of State. The bill changes that to limit it just to the filing to only the form prescribed by the Secretary of State. The second thing this section does is when a foreign corporation wants to amend its articles of incorporation, the filing that's required for that under current law is a certificate of the proper officer of the jurisdiction in which such corporation has been incorporated. The bill changes that to a form prescribed by the Secretary of State. So changing the filing requirements for foreign corporations who have undergone a merger consolidation and also who wish to amend their articles of incorporation. Section 3 is a little bit different. Section 3 deals with the Business Entity Transactions Act, which deals with mergers, interest exchanges like securities, obligation rights to acquire things, and also other property. It also deals with conversions, either a business entity to a domestic or foreign entity of a different type, and it deals with domestication, which is a business entity changing from domestic to a foreign entity or vice versa of the same type. So with respect to that act, certain business entities are not permitted to participate in transactions under the act, and the bill under current law, one of those business entities that is accepted from the act is professional corporations or limited liability companies that are organized under Kansas law to render a professional service. So professional service, professional corporations, and limited liability companies. So the bill removes that restriction, so those business entities can participate in transactions under the Business Entity Transactions Act. Section 4 pertains to certificates of resignation of a resident agent. Under current law, there's certain information that is contained in a certificate of resignation of a resident agent is not a public record, is not open information. So the bill changes that to make it public information, and the specific information is the address, the name and contact information of an officer, director, employee, or designated agent that the resident agent has been authorized to receive communications from with respect to the resident agent's covered entities. So that information is no longer not public information contained in a certificate of resignation of a resident agent. The last two sections of the bill, Section 5 and Section 6, deal with limited partnerships. The first, Section 5, deals with filing requirements. Under current law, one of the filing requirements to form a limited partnership, that is a filing of a certificate of limited partnership, for a domestic limited partnership, is the latest. One of the things that has to be included in that certificate of limited partnership is the latest date upon which the limited partnership is to dissolve. So that requirement is removed by the bill. So that information is no longer required when filing a certificate of limited partnership to form a limited partnership in Kansas. The second thing, Section 6 deals with filing fees for limited partnerships, and for a certificate of limited partnership, the current filing fee is just $150. The bill changes that to a fee that the Secretary of State can set by rules and regulations, but not to exceed $150. The same thing occurs with this bill with respect to an application to do business of a foreign limited partnership. And currently the fee is, again, just a straight $150, and that's changed by this bill to again, a fee established by the rules and regulations of the Secretary of State, but not to exceed $150. So those are the changes that the Secretary of State would like to see with respect to business entities in this bill. And that the bill would become effective July 1st if it was enacted. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, any questions for the reviser? Vice Chair Turk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, quick question. Does it make it more difficult or less difficult? Meaning, does it add steps or remove steps for either an LLC or similar entity closing a business?
So I don't believe so, based on looking at the bill. Perhaps that's something that one of the Secretary of State might want to address, but I don't believe so.
Any further questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Charles, for the explanation. We're going to go with the opponents or proponents first. Clay Barker, Secretary of State's office.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Clay Barker, General Counsel for the Kansas Secretary of State. Charles did a great job of explaining the content of the bill. I'll go through these 6 sections and explain briefly why we're doing it, and then I'll take your questions, if that's okay, Mr. Chair. All right. First of all, these are all changes that have come about because of our constant process improvement, where we look at why filings were rejected or complaints from our customers. These are things that in a small business, a low-level middle manager could probably change, but because they're in statute, I have to come to the legislature to get them changed. Okay, Section 1, which has to do with business trusts. Right now, when a trust stops doing business in Kansas, it has to file its resolution with us, which is a multi-page document full of legalese, and our staff have to hunt through it for the key facts the law requires. And this bill would replace it with a simple one-page form where the trust can just fill in the 4 or 5 pieces of information, and we're done. We have everything. The second section has to do with foreign entities merging. So if foreign in business language means non-Kansas. So if a Missouri company is doing business in Kansas and it merges with another non-Kansas company, right now the law allows them to file certificates from their home state, and often those certificates are missing one of the key facts that Kansas law requires. So we'd like them just to use our simple one-page form, get all the key facts down, and it's done, and we don't have to follow up with them and reject their filing. On the third section about the professional entities, right now, if a professional, for instance, and these are like doctors, architects, limited liability company wants to transition itself into a professional corporation, it has to start out as a professional LLC, convert to a regular LLC, convert to a corporation, regular, and then convert to a professional corporation. The lawyers often ask us, why do we need 3 steps for this? This would make it simple that a professional LLC could just in one step convert to a professional corporation. We don't know why it takes 3 steps right now under Kansas law, but this would just simplify it. The fourth section has to do with the resident agents. About 600 resident agents a year resign without appointing a successor, and they fill out a form to let us know they're doing it, and the entity has 30 days to appoint a new resident agent. We're not sure why, but the contact information for the officer at the company that now no longer has a resident agent is not public information. And this isn't their home address. This is just their business address and name. And that causes us to have to do a manual override in our system that a form is part public information and part non-public information. And this would just save us a lot of time, and it doesn't give out any information that you couldn't find anyway on other filings. On the last 2 that have to do with limited partnerships, for some reason, every other entity in Kansas is allowed to file perpetually. It just goes on forever until it ends by its own action. And LPs have to put a date certain. And a lot of them get rejected for that. They don't understand why they need to put a set date. They're used to just perpetual, this is the lawyers, are used to perpetual existence. This would fix that. And the last section, almost every fee we set, the legislature gives us a ceiling and then lets us set a lower amount. And the formation fee for an LP is set at $150, which is significantly higher than the formation fees for other types of entities. And we just like the authority to lower that to make it more consistent with other types of entities when they form up. And there's only about 160 LPs form in Kansas every year. And this money would go to SGF. We figure at most SGF might lose $10,000, but these entities would probably see their fees cut in half just to make it consistent with other formation fees. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll take any questions. Again, this is supposed to be just some minor simplifications to make the process easier for our customers.
So streamlining and lower fees sums it up.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right, any questions? All right, seeing none. You're good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there any other proponents? Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, anyone strongly neutral? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on 2117 and open the hearing on 2118. And with a brief description, Reviser Reimer.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 2118 is also brought to you by the Secretary of State. This bill deals with a consumer protection matter, specifically persons that would be private entities, not public entities, who solicit to advertise a service of filing a document with a governmental entity or retrieving a copy or a certified copy of a certificate or public record from either the federal government, state, or local government or state agency. So the bill requires these private entities who are advertising the service to include certain items in their advertisement, in their solicitation. So the first item is a statement that is spelled out in the bill, and the statement is, quote, "This is an advertisement. This offer is not being made by or on behalf of any government agency. You are not required to make any payment or take any other action in response to this offer." The second item that has to be required in the advertisement is the name of the person making the solicitation and the person's street address. Third item is information about where the consumer can file a document directly or retrieve a copy or certified copy that they're looking for from the government. The fourth is a statement, if the solicitation is mailed, that in large type, this is not a government document. The bill also requires that solicitations are not to be misleading. So they are not to be in a form or to use deadline dates or other language that, one, would make the document appear to be issued by the government, either the federal government, state agency, or local government, or two, that would appear to impose a legal duty on the person being solicited. A violation of the requirements of the bill would constitute a deceptive act or practice under the Consumer Protection Act. There's also a definition of solicit or solicitation, which means to directly advertise to a person, and it does not include a couple things. One, it doesn't include communication initiated by a consumer, and it doesn't include advertising or marketing to a consumer with whom the solicitor has a current or former commercial relationship. The act would become a part of the Consumer Protection Act, and it would, if enacted, become effective on July 1st of this year. Stand for questions.
All right, committee, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Charles. Open up the proponents for 2118, Clay Barker, Secretary of State's office. And I'm sorry, sir, I don't have your testimony for either. I'm sure you sent it in, but if you could send that to me directly, I'll get them into the S drive for everybody to view.
All right, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I appreciate the committee's patience on this. This is our last bill for the committee. This bill is aimed at what we think of as a scam that's it's nationwide, it's been getting worse year after year, and that's the companies will target small companies that aren't very sophisticated, that may not have their own lawyers, with barrages of letters saying, if you need a certificate of good standing, give us all this money and we'll get it for you. You need this filing, you need that filing. They also prey on Kansas companies with this new federal Beneficial Ownership Act, the one that's been on again, off again several times, where they're trying to get the target company to pay a lot of money for something the state will either do for free or for a very small cost. And we've talked to other states about it. There's constant Attorney General warnings, Secretary of State warnings, Federal Trade Commission warnings, but a lot of small companies fall for this. And every week we get 2 or 3 complaints, either someone who's paid for it unnecessarily or is asking us if there's something we can do to stop it. And we finally decided to act and try to get some legislation done. So we borrowed an idea that many other states have required, and that's to require a disclaimer on these solicitations. So the solicitations themselves aren't illegal. They're offering a very expensive service that is unnecessary, but the disclaimer will make it clear that the target company, this is not a government mailing, and they can get it from the government for a much cheaper cost. And if the scammer does not put the disclaimer on it, then it's a violation of the Consumer Protection Act, and the Attorney General can go after them, not for a crime, but for an injunction or civil penalties, or make the company pay the attorney's fees to go after them. And Mr. Chair, that's pretty much it as a summary. We're trying to help out Kansas businesses. We've been getting complaints for so long about why can't you do something about this, and we finally decided there probably is something we can do, but we need legislation to get enacted. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, so committee, any questions for the conferee? Pretty straightforward. Thank you very much. No questions.
Thank you, Mr.
Are there any other proponents? Seeing none. Opponents? Seeing none. Neutral? Seeing none. We'll close the hearing. Okay, committee, we still have a little bit of time, so we're going to try to kick out a bill to get to the floor so that we have some things to start this process and avoid a logjam at the end of this turnaround session. It's awful short, so direct your attention to House Bill 2092, and that is the bill on the PEO, Employment Organizations. And I'll get a brief description from the reviser.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 2092 amends the current professional employer organization registration and renewal timing requirements with the Secretary of State to be the October 15th following the applicant's registration. The bill also changes audit filing requirements to coincide with registration renewals and adds a requirement that audits submitted with renewals be no older than 12 months. The bill further provides that companies that do not have positive working capital must submit a bond to the Secretary of State as surety, and it removes options that are in current law for an irrevocable letter of credit or securities, and also removes a requirement that the bond be valued for purposes of sufficiency at market value. So it removes that market value requirement, and that's what the bill does.
All right, committee, any questions for the reviser? Okay, seeing none, and just as a reminder, there were only 2 conferees on this bill. One was the regulators, which is the Secretary of State's office, and the other was those being regulated, which was the PEO organizations, and they were both in agreement that it was a good bill. And there were no neutral or opponents to the bill, and so I'll open it for discussion. You have a question? Okay. Can you make a motion to pass that favorably? All right, seeing none, we'll get a motion from Vice Chair Turk.
Yeah, seeing no questions, I think we should pass out House Bill number 2092.
Favorably.
Favorably.
All right, yeah. Any discussion on that? Seconded by Representative Penn. Do you have a discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to ask it, would it be appropriate to set the calendar since it's
I think we could take this opportunity to allow one of our freshmen to carry a bill. So I'd rather keep it off of the consent calendar.
I nominate Representative King.
You don't tell Representative Ward to stop looking in your junk.
All right, seeing no further,
I'm a freshman and I'm still here, so yes.
seeing no further discussion, you can close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I close.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion, seconded by Patrick Penn. Representative Patrick Penn, that is. All in favor say yes.
Aye.
All against say no. Motion passes. All right, committee, we're done for the day. We'll probably try to kick these other two out that we heard today. We'll probably try to kick those out tomorrow so we can get them on the floor too. And we have a presentation on housing tomorrow. And I'm doing this in order to get as much information in front of this committee as we can before we hear the bill on Thursday that seems to be getting controversial over the $750 million that we've already spent. And so we'll get some information tomorrow and then have the hearing on Thursday. That gives you a day to try to find any answers to questions you might have between. And we try to at least give people some time to learn themselves up on some of these things, these larger bills before we hear them. With that, we're adjourned. Thanks.